wat is op? Kijk, ek wil nie eens goed ou kalk. Check hè. Jy dis gangster.
So, thank you very much. This is all Flip's place. He's kindly hosting us today. He's got 200 plus kids coming in today, so he looks surprisingly calm for someone who's got a full house. Derek's going to train us. He's one of the most experienced 4x4 guys I know, as is Flip actually. But, and so we say thank you very much, guys, for giving up your Saturday morning to chat to us. My name is Leo. I'm just a hired help, so I'm here to get you coffee. Make sure you guys are comfortable. Little cap. If you're superstitious, give me a coin back for what's under the cap. Please do ask questions. There's no rush. We have a lunch scheduled for 12:30. There's drinks. There's lekker braaivleis. So in between, we're just going to relax. There's coffee will be here. There's some snacks. I see you guys have missed it so far. And Derek, over to you. Cool. And if you wanted to say anything online, feel free to hashtag Mahindra and hashtag Mahindra-SA. Thanks.
I started mine this morning by saying that I took a picture of the 4 pickups, and then I posted and I said choose the colours I could go for.
Dis die mens flex wel.
Maybe let me just spend a second on that. So what happened was the pickup Karoo turned into one of their most successful products ever. It's developed in South Africa. It's built in their factory down in KZN, assembled. So Mahindra started seeing that a lot of guys were further speccing up their vehicles. Maybe they had one of the few companies, I think Ford is similar, but who guarantees all the fitments around the car. So the approach bumpers, the departure bumper, the off-road suspension, etc. Many guys will take their bucky and go fit it elsewhere, and then you stand at a risk of losing your warranty. Or Mahindra fits all of it in the dealership or at the factory already, so it's all under factory warranty. But anyways, so Rajesh is the CEO of Mahindra, and he spent some time with the Karoo, got inspired and came up with this. So this is actually his creation. He came up with this idea, was reading some poetry on the Karoo and the storms that form, and he was sharing this with us, and then he said, listen, he's got an idea. And so he came up with the idea of 3 very special buckies. So take the 4x4 Karoo. They fit a special off-road suspension, so it's higher, more rugged. They fit hard-wearing, hardened steel rims and off-road tires on it. And then depending on the model, there's special kit on each of them. So you'll see all of them have got this beautiful approach and departure bumpers on it, with the recovery points, the LED spotlights, and a bigger exposure on the wheels. The one at the furthest end is called the Dawn. So that is the beige version, and that's got an additional roof rack as standard on its car. The morning. The Storm in the middle has got well, they all have leather seats. The Storm and the Dusk and the Dawn on the other side have a special fitted tonneau cover, and then this side, the Dusk, is it's got a roller shuttable with a slightly different roll bar at the back. So that makes each of them quite unique. But we'll go through them later, but you'll be the first guys to drive them. This is actually the first 3 units that they got from the factory, so we get a chance to drive them today. Amen, that's me.
Dis is baie met die tan. Ek het die roof raak.
Guys, yeah, welcome here, and it's a long story. I'm not going to bore you with the story of how we ended up, or just not the whole story. About 25 years ago, I decided to do the training track out here, just a little place out of the office. And at that stage, we used our own vehicles, got the guys into team building adventure rather than training at the initial point. I just didn't want to spend all my time in the office, so I needed some outside time. A few years into it, I got involved with Imperial Motors, and they always borrowed me vehicles, a little bit of marketing from their side, and we had the Kia Sportages and the Daihatsu Rockies, and the Santa Fe's. We made them Samyang was the Santa Fe. No, Hyundai made the Santa Fe, and the Musos, we had them all out here. And then at one stage they weren't interested anymore, back on my own cars. And then Lazarus Ford in Centurion got involved at one stage, and they borrowed me vehicles when I needed. And then one good day, myself and the previous CEO of Mahindra, I did an event for them, and we're standing here on having a look what the guys are doing, and I see how do we do it more often. I said, brand a track and give me a car. And that's where it started, I think in 2015. So I've been in bed with Mahindra ever since. And at that stage, all new came back from a service yesterday, so that will stop squeaking and
Fresh and new.
yeah, all fresh and new. Brakes and shocks and all those things. But and that's how I started, and I promised Sanjoy that I will not get stuck with the car. And a year later, he asked me one day, he said, did you keep your promise? I said, sorry, I didn't. And he was very disappointed. I said, I was here in Menlyn, and school was closing 10 o'clock in the morning, and we've got some big schools here in Pretoria East, and before I knew what happened, I got stuck in traffic. And that was the good news. I had a sticker on the first one on the back, said, don't follow me, you will get stuck. And but it hasn't the tar hasn't disappointed me yet. I had done some recovery, because you go into situations as your confidence grows where sometimes you shouldn't be, but that's how you learn to do recovery as well. What we're going to do today, we're going to quickly look at all the different principles of what we're going to experience out there. And I want to warn you ahead of time, this is not to test the vehicle or yourself. This is a good place to have a look what the car can do and different, what we can actually do with the vehicles. But it's not a highly rated off-road track where you're going to bring the guys out and compete cars against each other. It's to give us an opportunity to show you how the different vehicles work, how you get through the obstacles, and to give you a little bit first-hand experience that once you get off-road now, you won't back off from a downhill, because you know the vehicle can handle it. And some of it is nice, and some of it is just there that we get the experience, and some of it is scary if it's your first time. I had the odd shouts here. There's an obstacle I call Mother, because from where I entered it until the outside, my mother-in-law was screaming. The second round, when I had it in the car, was better. But enough about that. So we're going to look at a little bit of water and mud, the water-mud situation, rock and sand. We're not going to get stuck in any of it today. It's just to get the experience and get you able to talk about it. Incline, decline, straddle angles, all those that we want to talk about. Okay, and then if there's questions as we go along, we'll answer all of it to the best of our knowledge. And I said to Leo earlier when we had a chat, once you've been through here, who's going to be off-road for the first time? Okay, once you've been through here, then you got at least the knowledge that you can do it and the car can do it. Then as you experience, your confidence grows, your trust in the car grows, and then there's things that start playing a role. Reading terrain, making decisions. I mean, you see those little ducks walk across a piece of water, you drive in there and you sink the car because you thought it was this deep, because baby ducks just walked across the pond. And that is experience, and you can start reading track later on and see this is where the previous guy got stuck because of wheel spin, so I don't want to drive there. Or tracks go into the water and out the other side of the water, then it's most probably safe. But there's other ways to determine that as well. But it's just to give you your first time experience. You see that the cars, even the SUV there at the back, can do it all. Last week, the week before, I had people out here, and the ladies was especially impressed that Mom's Taxi can actually do this. Because we tend to look at the vehicles and you want the big wheels, and the guys with the big calves and the big moustaches, they do the off-road. No, they can all do it. A few basic rules. In the environment, we always put the belt on, because we don't know what's going to happen. So safety comes first. So that is our safety belt. You go on, 2 hands on the steering wheel, and thumbs up. So we don't take it like a banana. So thumbs up, that if something happens and you get a turn on the steering wheel because of a rocky or hole, whatever you drive into, you don't dislocate your thumb. Today it's not so necessary here, but if we're in bushy terrain, we always keep the window 3/4 up. Why would we do that? You know, for branches whipping back, same as when we walk. You know, the guy in front of you take a thorn tree's branch out of the way and he doesn't warn you, so it whips back and you end up with a thorn in the belly button. And then following distance. That's important. Depending on the terrain, if we can see each other about 4 or 5 car lengths. And then the last thing I want to say is if the guy in front of you stop, then we stop as well. We don't sneak up to the guy in front of you unless if we're on safari or out there on a track on a game farm and I want you to bunch up because we're going to look at something or we're seeing a lion, then give a signal, come closer or whatever. Otherwise, if the car in front of you stop as well, so the convoy stop to give you opportunity to go out of the obstacle. Okay, oops, does it make sense so far?
Yes.
Next thing is straight as possible. Where am I now? Okay, straight as possible into the obstacle. I don't want you to do 3-point turns, that's not necessary. You can turn into the obstacle, but I don't want to go up an embankment at an angle if it's not the only way to do it. So as straight as possible. Next thing that I want you to remember when we're out there is we drive as slow as possible, but as fast as necessary. So if you're going up an embankment as slow as you can, but there is places where you need a little bit more momentum and then you need to go up it a little bit faster or with more aggression. And there was one more. Can't remember. Oh, it will come to me. What did we say? Slow as possible, fast as necessary. Once we rolled over, I'll remember.
Yeah.
Some of these we're going to address again there because there's places where we changed the rules a little bit. So, for example, if you want to get out of the vehicle, you have to take it off. Okay. It's uncomfortable dragging the vehicle behind you because I said keep your belt on. Okay. So remember that as well. And obviously, as we go through, I'll discuss a few things. Okay. Is there anything that you want me to add here that you can think of? Leo, look, any of you, any rules? No smoking out there. Okay, because it felt very dry. So we restrict the smoking to this area. That's right. Okay. And the muddle, if you're in there, you can smoke. Unless you're in the vehicle. Leo did tell them to bring towels, eh? Okay. Because we're going to test the surface just now, shoes off.
Ag nee, dis handig nodig om die gedruk te kry, man.
Nee, correct.
Dis so arme krag.
Okay.
The same safety belt, that's obviously when you do a water crossing, that's what another instance you would take your safety belt off.
I will discuss it there quickly. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing that we have to look at if we start dealing with off-road vehicles is the vehicle itself, and there's a few things I want to know about the vehicle if I go out there. So first of all, I want to know, obviously, if I take this vehicle, what the turn circle is. That if I'm in the vehicle, I know if I'm going to go in here, am I going to back out, or will I be able to turn and come out? That you know if you're comfortable with the turning circle of the vehicle. The one thing with the Mahindra pickups, they've got fairly large turn circles. And one of the reasons for that is that the more the angle of your wheels can turn, the more stress you have on your CV joints and stuff. So if they restrict a little bit, we are actually protecting the CV joint. So all the working parts are now protected because the vehicle doesn't turn. So it's an advantage rather than a disadvantage because it's gonna last longer for yourself. The second thing I want to know is the ground clearance. I want to know if I'm approaching an obstacle, will I be able to drive over it, or must I find a different way or make a different plan? And most of 4x4 or off-road vehicles and all-wheel drive vehicles in South Africa is just to be able to park on the curb if you're at Loftus, or to take shortcut through the parking lot and to negotiate the speed bumps. And nowadays also the potholes. So there's a pothole there by Steelpoort. I went through it twice. First time I lost direction because the GPS went off and all that. I almost got lost there. And the second time I lost all radio signal. What I had to walk out and call someone to come assist me. It was the biggest pothole I ever ended up in. Okay, turn circle ground, approach and departure angles. That's when we are driving towards an obstacle. Can I go up there? Now, easy way for me to determine without going in there with all your school little crockery, little box with your passer and your compass and all those things. Go in there is if I can reach, if my wheel can reach the obstacle before the rest of the car, then I can go up there. Okay. Then the next one is the straddle angle. Will I be able to cross over? So those are things that you want to learn about the vehicle you're driving with quickly, because then you don't get in too much trouble. You know when to go around something or to back up. You can.
That's why you guys special approach bumpers. That opens the wheel. More surface of the wheel is exposed to the obstacles. So can actually use the wheel right up to a rock, or a rock face, and climb up much bigger than thanks to the bump. It's not just the ground clearance, it's also the exposure of the wheel and the grip that you then get.
Awesome. Now, but we must also remember once we're busy with ground clearance, it's going to be the lowest part. So it's usually the diff. And if you want to get the diff higher off the ground, we start looking at special axles and things like that, and it's different. So it becomes expensive. So those specially adjusted off-road vehicles where they do all those competitions with handbrake for each wheel and hot and cold running licorice water in the radiator and all that start playing a role, but that's expensive. Okay, wading depth. What?
Just
Wading.
like that again, it's okay. Where did it dip? Got it.
The wading depth of the car. How deep can you go? I got lost. Yeah. And if you look at the car, where's the car now? It disappeared. Okay. Yeah, no, see, the bakkie staan ook hier, but you can't see it. I've got the snorkel on. How deep can I go into the water?
As long as the snorkel is above water or your face. It's the truth.
Do you agree with him? Okay, that is a common mistake we make. That's a cleaner air intake. Remember, all the diff, all the electrical components, all the brakes, everything else, you see, if it's not specially treated and sealed off, or breathers lifted up as well, you can still only go to the factory, which is usually if I look in the book, it is usually the height of the wheel. But if you go through the water as deep as the height of the wheel, there will be water in the car at the end, if it's long water crossings. So what the guys done in the US at one stage, they did want to go through this pond, and it was 200 yards, which is what, 180 meters, that they wanted to go through water, and it got as deep as about 3 meters. So they wanted to put this Jeep under the water. I spent about $100,000 on his Jeep, and he had this big snorkel out, and they did a roll cage system, but no doors, nothing else. And he had some special equipment that he was breathing, and the exhaust was also out of the water. And all the breathers that had in the car had tubes on up with the snorkel. And then the second run, they first failed because it was too slippery, he couldn't drive. The second run they actually made it, and he put a winch on them. They were actually, he was driving and they were winching it from the other side as well. So they made it. But it cost him $100,000 to get the car prepared to go underwater that long, because the whole engine had to be prepped. So we cannot look at the snorkel and then say, okay, that's how we fight. Everyone, I thought so too, and then right from the start. But unless you do some special preparation. Now the advantage is, if you go into water, as long as you're moving, there's an air bubble push in front of the engine, so the components that get wet is not drowned, as long as you keep moving. Last year, October, we were at the Wild, and one of the guys, I won't name names, he's famous, he stalled his vehicle in the water crossing. And luckily, he was not silly enough to start it, so we got him out of the water. It was an auto Toyota. I pulled him out with the Mahindra bucky, this one. I recovered him. There is a video. And, we didn't name and shame him because he is a public figure. And when we opened the doors, the water was running out of the car, and there was an auto technician with us, and he took a few things apart and got it dry. And half an hour later, I must say, Toyota was running. I asked him about a month ago. I had a meeting with him and I asked him about it. He said the only thing he had to replace was the lights. They started going off and everything inside was, so all the lights and the indicators, he had to replace the whole unit. So there is some damage, but it's because he got stuck there. But I must say it was quite funny, but it was something that happened. So wading depth is important, and then the last one here that I want to have a look at is your rollover angle. So at what angle can you drive there? Now, most of the vehicles, 45 is probably safe, 45 degrees. I won't risk it all the time, but there's a whole lot of things that play a role there now. Because if you take the Tare as is, I will comfortably drive it at 45 degrees. I won't push that. But for my own sake, I'll stick to 30 and below. But now I put people in the car with me. I'm going to take some serious calculation and lower that as well. Now I soften the tires, percentage come down, or the angle comes down. I put my jerry cans on the top, so we
And the center of gravity.
Center of gravity goes up, figure comes down. Now I'm out in the Namib, on soft sand, even down again. My rollover embankment here is at 23 degrees. So remember that when we're there, then you think back at double that, should be safe, and then think how you're going to feel when you're double that. Because that's the only scary part in off-road driving that I don't like, is driving like this. And that's sometimes because of the person sitting this side.
Are you going to talk about driving into or turning into?
When we're there. Yeah. No, when we're there. I just want to discuss that quickly, because we're going to move from obstacle to obstacle and handle the rest of deal with the rest of the stuff there. Then we can ask the questions and have a look while Flip is floating in the mud pit. We'll discuss how to do that. But two things I want to discuss now with you as well is, if we go, we said we go in as straight as possible. Now, just for notice now, the three fancy colored vehicles here, our Dawn, our Dusk and our Storm, they are automatic. Okay. The other three, the Tare and the two white vehicles, are manual. So in the manual vehicle, once we're in low range first gear into the obstacle, no clutch, no brake. You can use the accelerator because you want to go a little faster, or maybe climb out the hill. So you're going to assist the car to do that. But we're not going to use the clutch, and we're not going to brake when in an obstacle. Even when we're going downhill, we're going to make use of engine compression braking. So the car will keep itself. You will experience it, and will be. If you haven't experienced it, it's going to amaze you. It's amazing that the vehicles can do that. On the automatic vehicles, they've got a downhill assist function that we activate before we go into into the obstacle, and I advise you to do it before we go into the obstacle. You don't only have to use it once we start going up. For any reason, if you have to stop inside the obstacle, we have to discuss it then there, how to do it safely again. Because if we're halfway up the obstacle, you don't want to stop there because you need to start there again. Now it's tricky. And I just said to Alan earlier, I was in Mozambique, when was that, Leo, 2019, with leisure wheels. Yeah, it was 2019, and we were going up this, we were 10 different manufacturers, and Donnie Botha from Leisure Wheel was driving one of these fancy new Land Rover Discoveries, and he was going up this huge dune, and our head boy and the deputy head boy, they were driving a Jimny and a Suzuki MUX. They followed him closely, and halfway up this dune he stopped because he had all these little bells and whistles. He's got the Challenger cockpit there that he wants to test all these things. So he wanted to see if this car can do what they said it can do with all these uphill assist and sideways and eject the mother-in-law and all those buttons that he's got in the car. And when he stopped, they had to stop. And I'm talking close up. I mean, there was meter following distance. And Donnie took off. I mean, the Land Rover did what he said. And the Jimny couldn't. Not because of anything else. Driver's error. You shouldn't have sneaked up the vehicle's rear end. And that's why the 5-car following distance, if you start going up the dune, I'm waiting this side. Because what if you start running back? And that's the reason why. And then MUX had to back off and they had to come out and they messed the whole dune up. We couldn't, the rest of us had trouble because they spun it all up and all that. But that is the reason why we don't do it. Why we don't sneak up on each other. And with downhill assist, if you use it on the right time and all the other things, then the vehicle really does what it say it do. With the manual vehicles, test it later today when you're driving one of it. They can do most of these obstacles in crawl speed. You don't have to assist as well. The auto is a little bit more clever. He's got a different brain box, so he will go up to the point where he says, now I want a little bit of assistance. And then you just encourage a little bit and then it will go. It's like that little paraffin lappy and the donkey. It's just to assist it a little bit. Okay, so once we start going over let's use this obstacle. I'm going in there, I'm driving up slowly. As I get to the top, I let go of the accelerator. No clutch, no brake. The vehicle is going to brake itself. So once I get to the bottom, it's my choice now. I can either see if the car can do the rest, or I drive out of it the other way. It all depends on how slow you want to go, because in between obstacles, if you're going walking pace the whole time, it becomes boring at some stage. So in low range you can go to all the different gears. You won't reach 6th gear here, there's not enough space. But to go to 2nd and 3rd, to drive between obstacles, no harm done. And that's the advantage of the vehicle. Rollover angle, wading depth. Woo! Now let's discuss that. Let's go here. In the vehicle we've got, except the Tare, that looks a little different, we speak about that now. In the vehicle we've got a selection in the middle of the car that says 2 high, 4 high and 4 low. When to use what? Obviously if you're daily driving you use 2 high, you've got rear wheel drive now. That's how the Mahindra is designed. So it's a normal, let's talk about the pickup. It's a normal double cab pickup with a rear wheel drive system. Okay. So if you're on a gravel road, you put your foot a little bit, it gives you some action. That's the advantage. Okay. What happens when we go to 4 high?
It's full drive.
The front wheels are locked now as well. Okay. So not only that is front wheel, that's rear wheel. This is the rear wheel drive system. So from the gearbox and all that drive prop shaft, we've got some track on the wheel. Once we go to 4 high, the front wheels are locked now. So you've got traction on the 4 wheels. When will we use it? Gravel road? On a gravel road.
On obstacles.
Hey?
On the obstacles.
Yeah, if it's uneven, maybe a sandy road, somewhere where you you suspect you're going to need a little bit more traction. On a wet road,
But more speed as well.
yeah, but on 4 high you can maintain the same speed as on 2 high. Okay, so your gear ratio is not in low range, so you're still in high range and you can drive fast still, but you've got 4-wheel traction now. So on a gravel road or loose gravel road, sandy road, wet road, I like to use it, and I've utilized it a lot of times if I'm towing. So I've got the caravan behind the vehicle and I'm going to Natal, and you start going there at Cato Ridge, you start doing nice option to have it, because you know if you have to do sudden moves or you have to stop in the traffic, then you've got 4-wheel traction. So it's a nice option to have. And it's nice to know you've got front-wheel traction as well if the road is slippery and wet. When we go off-road and we go there, now let's put this, we take these new pickups, got a 6-speed gearbox plus reverse now. So it's actually a 21 gear selection that you have because of the 3 options. So each of them you got all 7 gears to use and gives you options. But in low range, when that transfer case start playing a role in there, then the gear ratio changes immensely. You'll see now if you take off, especially with the manual, normal first gear versus low range. You can actually just let go of the clutch. In the car you can start the car in gear and it will start running. You're not going to do a clutch stall or whatever, it will not happen. The gear ratio is so low that it will just start running. But then you also have immense power, so we must be very careful selecting, especially on sand as well, going to low range, because remember if you start digging, you're now suddenly digging with 4 wheels, eh? Yeah, and much more power, much more torque. So you dig yourself onto the diff, onto the belly very, very quickly. So we must be very careful selecting. So sand is one of those areas where we will discuss it now, just now there at the sand pit. Unfortunately, we're not going to get stuck there. But we must take note of that. The key in sand is momentum. That is the key. So sometimes it's not even necessary. I've been on the beach many occasions in 2-wheel drive, so we haven't changed until the first time I had to stop. Then you select for high and you keep on going again. But initially, from the tar onto, or from the dirt road onto the beach or onto the sand, once we're rolling, we keep on rolling until we get to the point we need to be, unless it starts getting uneven and all that. And very loose sand for high is sometimes a better option. It all depends on what. One of the things that the guys tend to confuse is speed and torque.
The one's kilowatt, the one's...
I'm getting back to the guys with these big calves. Go and get stuff, floorboard. And then you got all these wheel spins and all that. So don't confuse, you get good torque at low revolutions. And that is when you keep on going. Okay. We will discuss the traction side of it there when we get there at the cross axles, on how the car distributes its power or its torque to the different wheels, and what happens and what happens not if you only got if you don't have the options. Okay, but we'll discuss that there at the cross axles. We can have a look. Sorry? No, please, you wanted to
Just chat about the difference between the blocks.
let's do it there as well when we get there. We'll do that. Yes, just different tire options that I wanted to just show you guys, because there's, as well as this, but we'll discuss it at the time when we're taking a smoke break. We don't have to go into lecture about it. Just the idea what all the numbering and all the writing on the wheels give. And remember, when we get there now, I'll show you. But when we are turning, the outer wheel is turning faster than the inner wheel, and that is a principle that we have to discuss there, because that's where the diff will be. The diff and the diff lock and all the components there start playing a role on particularly that when we're dealing with that, and that's why we when we get traction or not. Okay. Any questions up to now?
On the like a one game I play, for instance, when you put on the engageable diff locks on a hard surface, it says it's gonna damage the diffs. Is that true or not? On certain vehicles.
If it's on tar,
Tare, continue.
yeah. So as Derek explained, if you go around the corner distance to travel.
Yes. So that's why the two wheels ride independently. Now you're on rocks or something. You need a diff lock so that if the one wheel spins, the system doesn't think, okay, well, it's catching up with the other wheel, you're going around the corner. It thinks, okay, shit, you're slipping, and then it locks it to you, and the other one can help you out. So that's where diff works. But now we had it recently in a launch from the guys, not on the Mahindra, because they lock this works slightly differently. The guys kept the diff locks engaged. Now you're back on Tare, you go around the corner, the outside wheel wants to actually drive faster than the inside wheel it can't, and you start grinding the diff. By the time it got back to the head office, it was, good stuff. Yeah, so
We can quickly discuss it. The diff ensure that we've got two wheels turning now. That's because the power is now coming from here, and it's sent by the diff. It's changing direction to the wheels on the drive shafts. Now 50% of the torque or the power is going there, and 50% is going there. We're just on a rear wheel axle now, so it's 50-50. But because it's a free spinning diff, this wheel can go faster than the inner wheel.
So it's independent.
Say again?
It's independent.
Yeah, it's independent of each other. So if you lift the car off, 50% of the power is still, of the torque is still with the wheel on the ground, and 50% is just going to be free spinning. And you might not have enough power to keep the vehicle moving.
Okay.
So now the moment I don't have another colored pen, the moment you lock the diff, doesn't matter which system now, if you got the option, if it's a manual system or self-locking system, doesn't matter. The moment the lock is engaged, this is now turning the same speed. But now because of the Eaton self-locking system that we've got in the Mahindra, he can now transfer, this wheel's up in the air, and the system transfer all the torque there now, and that's why we keep on moving.
Okay, I see.
But that's also the reason why with the manual, like my wife's got a Ranger, you have to select it. Once you select it, if you're on the tire and you turn, the outer wheels is going and you can actually go and see the amount of rubber it's leaving you on the bricks. If you make a, no, you can go and have a look. It's visible there, and nothing's going to last. Now, the same with locking the wheels now going into low range. What we do is everything is working in a forward motion. So the knuckle on the front wheel that locks into place. Now it's locking into place. It forces this wheel power on the front wheel now. When we're done with off-roading, we come out of this section. We're going to drive fast now again. Stop, put it back into wheel drive. All the lights goes off. Put it in reverse and reverse 1 or 2 meters, just to give it a chance to ensure we unlock it. Because it has happened here, the guys are busy playing and I can't watch everyone, and with one of the pickups, with one of the big Mahindra days, it stayed locked, and once the guys drove off, that knuckle was engaged, and then we got some damage. Next round, we didn't know about it. Next round again, we were going out here and it broke off. So suddenly you don't want that to happen. So every time you were in low range, just reverse that 1 or 2 meters, just to give the system a chance to unlock itself, and then you move forward again. But it's a good habit. In the old days, we just spoke about it. In the old days, we had manual locking ups, so you had to get out of the car in the rain and the dust and lock it. Ja.
En dan sit hy nog met die modder en moet dit nog uittrap. My ouma het my daai job gegee. Ek het nooit bestuur nie, maar die bakkie was skoon.
It is always fun. And I said to them, we were in Lesotho, and I got these guys stuck there and asked them about what went wrong. They said, no, they don't know. They're in low range 4x4. I said, yeah, but your wheels aren't locked. Huh? So they didn't know they had to lock the wheels manually. But that's the old days. Are we going to start moving in?
I just want to make one last statement.
Yeah, please do.
Sometimes in a barroom discussion, a guy will tell you, well, I've got a Kia or a BMW X5, it's also 4-wheel drive. But that's a different system.
Yeah, that's
So
all-wheel drive.
think Audi Quattro versus Mahindra. That system is only to allow for traction. It doesn't allow for the technical low range thing where you can control the power delivery. So keep in mind that not all 4-wheel drive systems are created equal. The 4-wheel drive system on an XUV that's coming is for traction. It will be like an Audi Quattro. You can go around the corner much
more neutrally, etc. But it's not. It normally disengages at high speeds. It's not for technical driving. Whereas this is a completely different system. You control the transfer of the car. It's normally on your dashboard. You start, and then front wheel engage.
The difference is the low range. All-wheel drive, you don't have the low range option. So your gear ratio stays exactly the same, though your front wheels have traction. Now I call all-wheel drives like the old Freelander. Mahindra was the first one that was all-wheel drive popular, and it's a cell phone 4x4. Okay. So once you drive off your signal, turn around, because you're going to get trouble. So unless you can call for help, don't do that. But that's a big difference. You can't have low range. Now, what I said with the Tare, which is different, it doesn't have the dial in the center of the console where you select it. It's still got a short stick, like the older 4x4s where you have to select it. I think it's engaged already because where I parked it, I have to keep the car comfortable, so I always park it on a fire hydrant or something. Just now it doesn't want to act up, so we want to be unbalanced. But the rest all got the same dial there inside. And if you drive one of them, even for a short period for testing, please, like every time you have a 10, make sure you're in too high before you drive away, because the guys clean and they don't think, you know, if you switch your car and it was all the wipers and indicators and hazards, because they're pressing things and cleaning it, all that. And trust me, every time my car's washed, I find it in one of it, because they turn it and they clean it, and the guys don't realize it must be there, so my guys know it. So but every time it's often.
Can you say that if 4 high is almost like an all-wheel drive?
It's basically, it becomes all-wheel drive. That's what.
The body's just better.
Except on some of the systems like the new X-Trail, that 4-wheel drive actually disengages at 60 to 80 km an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas this would stay engaged regardless of the speed. So it's even a softer version of the 4 high.
Yeah.
So it is. But the 4 high you can also drive on car road. Yeah, you don't damage anything.
The Subaru Forester, for example, the moment the car it's not permanent all-wheel drive. The car decides. So you go off the road, you go up a little embankment to park the car, and he engages the front wheel. So it's a very lovely system. But it's also all-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive. But you don't even have to select it, or you don't. He just decides himself. And Jan Rockman, one of my colleagues, he drives one, and he actually now messed the car's gearbox up by reversing a heavy trailer. He was impatient, so he didn't want to wait for the Amarok to arrive. I think he would have messed the gearbox up again. But anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But he's got two of them, the Subaru and Amarok, so it was actually his job. But anyway, he reversed this very heavy trailer and then got gearbox damage because the car experienced resistance and then kept on engaging so it was a mechanic. So there must be something to take note of.
Now the S drive in the new Subaru series is very, very bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't do well with any off-road situations.
Yeah.
No, not technical. Fast, very nice.
Any questions?
That's it. Grab a cap, guys. Let's get into the sun.
Grab a cap.
He's not in full, he's not in low range. I asked him to keep it there. So I think you can get moved from there. Als my in 4x4, so you have to leave it in some momentum to get out. But obviously if we start moving into the water, the push forward will keep the water away from the moving components. There should be a little bit of water in the exhaust system now as well with them going back and forward. Oh. Okay, obviously if we do a crossing like this, if it's the first time that I have to go through here, I will definitely go barefoot and go inside and go feel what it feels like, because I don't want to go into an area and there's sharp rock or whatever and I come out the other side with a broken tire. There's no clip here. And obviously as slow as possible, but as fast as necessary. And I don't know if you've seen the Mozambique one of Pikup where they did that long water crossing, and there was a lot of guys on the back of all the vehicles that wanted to catch lifts through there. And the water was up to the bonnet about with Johan and the crowd. And the key was there, as long as they keep moving. Because that was 400 meters that they had to go through water. As long as you keep moving. The moment you stop, trouble starts, and you cannot start the vehicle there. We have to keep on moving. I just said to Dankie, I came in here the other day with my daughter, I drove through with the car, decided no man, she can drive, went around, let her drive, we got here, that's where we got stuck. Pikup had to go take us out. The solenoid, electric solenoid, that activator system, that blew. So for some reason, just bad luck, and we got stuck here, and she thought it was her fault, but we couldn't move forward. It just didn't want to go nowhere. Okay, when you look at the first incline, decline, now water, sand, mud, the same thing. Momentum, rock, the same momentum, but as slow as possible, because you'll see now on the rock, but once you're driving, there's not a lot of rock. You'll see it now, but once you're there, you'll feel it on the vehicle, so you don't want to damage anything. Let's go to the incline, decline. No clutch, no brake, the vehicle will go down slowly, doesn't run away with you. And now you've got the option to leave it gone out, or you assist it a little bit and just drive out. Okay, you see what I mean with the rock is not a lot, but the experience that you get here, I've got more serious rock here at the back, but that's a different story. Ek raak lekker vandag.
Dit is ook so.
Ja, dit alles gegrease en gevang die rubbers in. Just at the crawl speed, Flippy gaan vir my moet stop. Now all I want in the rocky area is that we go at crawl speed as much as you can. Obviously you get to a bigger rock that's going to stop the wheel from moving forward. You assist a little bit, go over slowly, let it go again. This is the one area where you're going to be on standby to assist with the brake if necessary, because you don't want to get to the point where you get to a complete standstill or where you bounce the vehicle off a rock. Okay, here's where the training starts. Let's come to start. Ja, hierdie kant.
We're in the ditches, Captain.
If something goes wrong, I'm going to stop Flip that we can do it over again. But this is where we get the value of diff lock, and especially the system that's in the vehicle, the Eaton self locker, where the vehicle can decide. Now Flip will probably make some trouble for us first, otherwise I'm just going to stop him that we can steer. Jy's reg om te stop. Okay, gaan vir 'n klein bietjie terug. Ek wil hê okay, wow, dis genoeg. Kom bietjie hierdie kant toe, ek wil jou dieper in die put in, ek wil eers daai wiel in die lug hê. Okay, nog vorentoe. Okay, jy kan moet ja, nie baie kom wil hê nie. Okay, gaan terug. Right. Okay, it's fine. Okay, stop it off. Okay. Okay, what happens is, if you look at the function of the Eaton self-locker, if the wheel spins more than 100 revolutions per minute than the other wheel, it kicks in. Okay. Now, if we crawl about in crawl speed, sometimes he doesn't realize he's laboring. One wheel standing, other one spinning a little bit. Or in wet terrain where both wheels are laboring, because there's not a big difference. So the advice is, if we start doing this, just push it up to about 1,500 revs per minute. Then the speed will be enough to get the system going if necessary. He was almost, if I let him be, he would have begun, the system was starting to kick in. That you see, he wanted to go forward, then I stopped him. But this is the reason why it happens. This wheel starts free spinning, other one is laboring a bit to get going, and the system picks up and say, okay, now I need to transfer. And he takes this, loads it over there, locks, and he loads it over there, and then we continue going.
So this all happens real time on the Mahindra with the new
Real-time.
e-tron system.
Yeah.
That's pretty
As
cool.
long as now, the advantage of the Eaton, I don't know if you know that, the Eaton self-locker, we can have it aftermarket fit to the other vehicles. And it seems to me it's not too expensive. So the guy who's got a S11 can now go and have it fitted. So that would be very sweet. Though you don't need it, if you know how to drive the car, you don't need it. You'll see later, we just manipulate the vehicle. But this is where the advantage is that once it kicks in, you keep on going. And the moment you're used to it, driving through here becomes, I'm going to use a panya, automatic. So there's no hassle. Last week I had the husband go through, and he drove through, and I discussed a few things as we went. Remember, his wife was his passenger. They changed seats, she came through, she drove, and he said, what did you do different? She said, I listened to the lecture. And the girls tend to do it. Off we go. Let's go. I'm not going to go into the embankment now at this stage. Oh, we need to go to the sand. Let's go to the sand section. Okay, now let it work.
Yeah.
Guys, at the moment I've got a lot of compaction, so we haven't loosened up, so we're not going to get stuck here. The only thing I want to say about sand driving is, don't use the brake. If you can roll to a still stand, we're doing momentum, let go of if you're on the beach, let go of the throttle, the accelerator, and then let the car roll to a standstill. Then you're not pushing sand in front of your wheels. So it's the take off again, it's going to be easier. Now we're going to drive in second gear, high range maybe, that's a good roll, and now you stop. Because of the low range option, you can now go low range if you're afraid not to go, and still in second, you'll be able to take off and let it roll again. And then just keep it going. Now, what I said earlier is, once we start digging, remember that if you're in all four, you're low range, got power, you're going to dig in deep and quick and fast. And we once had the situation where a police off-road vehicle was trying to get a guy with a cruiser out there at St. Lucia on the beach, and they were both dug in nice and deeply when we got there. It was with a mate of mine. We rolled to a standstill, I took the fender off, we locked the front hubs, and the guy said, you're driving in 4x2. I said, yeah. Why? It's you guys digging, not me. We had a nice long sling, we got the guys, assisted them out there, and back to the trailer. While I got the trailer hitched again, Basil took the lockers off and walked away again. Because the previous day it worked. As long as we stayed out of the trenches where the guys were digging for us, we were rolling. And that's just comes with time and experience. Now, my brother went on a 4x4 excursion a bunch of years ago, probably one of us in a Kalahari Richterveld, about 20 years back. And he asked me, How low must he deflate his tires for the beach trip? They had a 200k beach ride. I said, well, it depends. You must get there, you must see, but don't deflate them if you don't have a way to inflate. They ended up 20 k's into the trip on the beach. It started being rock plates. It wasn't loose sand. So we must also remember, if you're going to be on the beach, it's not necessarily it's going to be sand. It can be rocky area terrain, it can be hard, it can be wet. So that we must take a note. So what is the reason for tire deflation?
It's more displacement.
Okay, footprint.
Yeah.
Okay? On another question. I've got 265 tires on here. She's got 235s on. She deflates the tire, takes her to a 255. Same footprint. I still got 265. So why do I deflate my tires? The next guy got 300s on his or 310s on his Jeep.
Possible.
But you hear what my question is. If I start with a 300 and she starts with a 335 on a 235, yeah, true, but is it the only reason?
No, because when the tire is deflated, the way the tire moves the ground is different. It doesn't push through because it's not hard. It's not
The pliability of the movability of the rubber becomes different now. It's the same as who's got nice now. Everyone's got like a bush shoes onto the. Yeah, those will work. They're nice and smooth. To go walk on the beach, on the dunes with those versus barefoot. What does your feet do when you're walking barefoot on the beach? Your toes dig in there.
Yeah.
Naturally, you don't have to. And it's the same what's going to happen with it. Instead of pushing everything out of the way, it's sort of crawling over. And the same with rock. So you get this. It's doing this more than just trying to slip over it. And that's where the hard tires. So footprint only. That's the only thing that comes up to us because we heard it, we learned about it, but it cannot be footprint only. We must look at a little bit deeper thing. In Mozambique, when you go into that Maputo reserve, there's a sign, a board on there that says tire pressure down to 1.3 bar. So it's obviously proven and tested. And I must say the whole trip that we did there, except some of the big dunes, I was in 4 high, in 2nd or 3rd gear with the Karua. And on that trip I was the only manual, and I was the only guy who in the 4 days didn't get fuel. No, I was the only guy working, with myself. But I didn't need fuel. I did the whole trip with the startup tank. I rebunkered before we went into Maputo, and because of the speed and the travel, the onboard computer told me from the start I can do 1,400 kilos. And every time they ask us how far we can still go, I lied the extra 200. My wife kicked me, but I did use a hybrid, so I had my solar panel there. I told them while the sun's shining, I'm running on sun power. And I was the only one who had to deflate my tires every morning because it's a S10, it's a smart car, so like the cell phone thing. Put air back.
Resets overnight.
Yeah, so that was my stories, and some of the youngsters believed everything I said, but no, it was great fun though. But what I'm saying is we didn't. I must say, except the situation when we were doing that, nobody had any trouble anywhere, and the Mahindra really behaved itself. I was proud of it. Flip's going to do exactly the same now. He's going to come through it, no brake, no clutch, and I just want to give you the opportunity. But this is where you have to start looking at. If you look at the terrain there, where would you go up and all that? That's decisions to make, because this is the one obstacle. I just want you to see what happens now. You see the vehicle's kicking, there's no clutch and brake. That's the speed you're coming down there. As long as the wheels are turning, you've got, sorry, just give a proper chance to get out of here. You got the middle traction.
Een beetje zachter uit op die zand.
Nice. I know when you just see this, when you just see the sky.
Idle. Oh. You touch the accelerator, so he's just going to drive up. He's just going to let the bucket do the work.
Up there as well.
Yeah, let's see what happens. So he's not touching accelerator, and that ding on the back, that was him. I've got no part in it.
Check that uit, ou. Sommer net.
Now I can tell you something else.
Well
My
done.
wife got this Ranger, sad to say, but I bring her out here and we drive, and I had her driving, and I said, no, let go, and she goes, we get here and we're going up there. I said, no, don't touch the accelerator, go up, get the others. I said, what would I do? Most of it, obviously, you need tire inflation. No, I can't go. If you go off-road for more than a day, it's nice that someone has a compressor with them to inflate. Along with that, I do my tire repair kit. You guys all had punches repaired by the garage, where they put these little rimpies in. There's the tools you do it with. Once you learn how to do it, it's quite easy. We don't even take the wheel off. And you get bigger and smaller ones. Sometimes it's not possible, especially sidewall punches. You cannot. So when we go off-road, we try to look after our tires. The high lift jack or the farm jack that you can lift this car up with. Got a specific function that goes in there. Okay. And this is a dangerous tool in the sense that once you start working with it, you must stay out of its way, because if something goes wrong, if this comes back with a force, you don't want it in there. But this is the way we will now get the car out of the sand. This is not for tire repair. This is if you get stuck and you need to get some hard stuff in there. You can also winch with this tool, so you can use it between two vehicles to winch, or between a vehicle and a tree. Unfortunately, it's an inch at a time. So every time you do that, that's the distance you travel or the distance you get up. To reverse it, you just switch over, and now also while there's weight on the jack, you have to climb down. So once it's released, you can take it out again. Hopefully, come on. Once more. Oh no! I'll say. No, it's just patience. I always put it back in that position that I know it's ready to use.
Sorry, there was a question, why not for tire repair?
You can do it, but it's not a stable system in the sense that where you can, if you then have option of putting something underneath the vehicle, because as you see, this can, especially when you're in uneven terrain, but you get stuck, the wheel goes into a ditch and it gets stuck there, or there's no travel, so you are in a fix, you want to put some hard stuff or a rock in underneath the car, then you do that.
Just, sorry, one point, this suspension, this bumper is obviously fixed to the
Chassis.
It's not like a plastic bumper. I wouldn't suggest you do
No,
that.
you
You'll
can't do
rip
this.
off
With the vehicles, you'll see on the back of the S11, there's two round holes on the back of the bumper.
Yeah, I see that.
That's what they've done now, and you get an attachment that you put on here. Mine is just lying somewhere, I couldn't find it. It goes on here now, and the round fixture goes into that hole. I'm so glad they moved back there, because this is standard, you buy it this way. So whose idea it was to go, a lot of vehicles, a lot of products is looking like that. So I obviously need both options now. But it's possible, but it's not a great idea. We've done it in the past when I was in the military, where we got the vehicle out, and the only option I had is to start going with the lift but then you break it. It doesn't survive the trip. So I've done that before. This is,
lift it up and then push forward.
yeah, just drove off the jack to get out of the ditch. Because it was the only option, but then you mess up your jack. But this is a short one. You get taller ones.
How much is this?
Brand new as it stands here, about $900.
Ja, dis ek sal hulle oor ry. Ja, nee, dis fyn.
Ja, jy kan 'n paar van hulle stukkend ry op 'n Saterdag.
Ja.
Yeah, it's about $900 going on. If you go to Ardendorf's, I think they start, this size one starts about at 900, just over 900 bucks.
Oh, jy weet wat ek dink, Jaco. We're getting 2 of those, man.
This is 3,000 kilograms, this one. 3,000 kilograms. So it's more than enough to do what you have to do. Now you've seen those plastic running boards, or the plastic board, no, I'm not pointing. Explain it. The guys put them to the side of the roof rack, whatever, those orange and yellow plastic boards to assist you out of sand. Now the guy gets stuck and he can't get over a little ditch, lifts his car, he put that in place, put it on, he drive over that plastic board and it snaps in two. They are made in such a way that you can put a few on top of each other to fill a hole. You can't drive over one alone. But when it's lying on the sand to give you traction, it's a different story because then you don't break.
It absorbs the
Yeah,
weight.
then you'll be pressing down, so the pressure is not on the board itself.
Like a snow boot. So
Yeah.
It doesn't go through.
Yeah.
Snow is not a good reference for SME.
But I do understand.
Kan dalk 'n Lady Smith gaan ry.
I do understand. I see quite a bit of snowboards and skiing equipment popping up here at the local cash converters. I just don't know where those guys stay. But they obviously realize they don't need it anymore.
Dit was toe kom bekostig om oor see te gaan op
Okay,
vakansie.
so this is the one option. If
For the
we're in
pandemic.
sandy terrain, obviously you're going to need a bigger base. So a wooden block or something else is good. Is now for sandy opportunities. This can also pick up 3 tons. Okay. You put this attachment in here. The fire hose is in here.
Ja.
Why?
Dis nou hulle het water.
Yeah, the fire hose.
It actually doesn't take water.
Yeah, and this goes on the back of your exhaust, and you have the car running, and it inflates that, and it lifts you out of the sand.
Dis moer cool.
Yeah, that's more cool.
Excited about bending
I
it all,
told
you
myself
can
I
just go
didn't
in a
like it.
fully inflated one in your car. And
Yeah, and then this is not the best ones, but this is just to put it down onto and to put on top of it, that the car doesn't damage your sleeping bag or your pillow.
would you only use this in sand, or would you use it anywhere?
No, you can use it.
Sand is just a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to put something on a firm base there, so this
Yeah.
one would
I
use
suppose
it.
you also have to be careful of rocks. You don't
Yeah, you
punch
don't
it.
want to find it, so you're going to be more careful. But
Sure.
but you can utilize it in any terrain.
How does it seal off?
Eh?
How does it seal off? Or is it when you take it
It's
off?
one of those non-return valves, yeah.
Now once you deflate it, then it just go down again.
But just don't inhale it like helium.
You can try.
Afterwards you take it off. You can go. This is going to Namibia next week because mates of mine is doing that skeleton coast trip. But that's 2 options other than the bottle jack that they put in your car that you get. Okay, then recovery wise, this one is called the tree protector. So you put this around the tree. I'm someone going to put it around this tree now for now.
Check hierdie pilaar van 'n man.
Obviously as low as possible to the ground to give the tree a chance to survive as well. And this prevent now if we got it nice and straight. If you got a connection here now with your winch, you don't have movement on the tree, so we don't damage the bark because we don't want to do the tree harm. So that's why it's used. And then along with the shackles, I'm just going to lay this down. Along with one of these shackles, you can now,
Ja, ons gaan van daai kry. Upgrade.
your winch cable goes through there, and now you got a point of moving around without getting. Yeah, so if it's a straight winch to the car, it goes through there back into the car. If you need to use another car, so you want to winch at the angle, now the tree is in between, and there's a second one for in case if you want to have to more.
Het jy 'n safety officer aangestel hê vir al hierdie equipment?
Yeah,
Okay. Elke trip met 'n lerkie.
this is a parachute that you fill with sand, and you hang over your winch cable. That if it snaps, it keeps it down on the ground, doesn't whip.
What? Dis cool.
So what we do is we toss our jackets and you throw a blanket, whatever you
But
have.
to keep some weight on it.
One day we had a fire here and we had a tree fall over the road, and everyone went on firefighting, and I went with the Land Rover, I can remember, to winch the tree. But I routed the winch cable through the fallen branches that was there already, and I got the tree and I started winching, and the cable snapped and just stayed in the tree.
Yo, at least.
I lost the cable because I didn't go through the trouble of taking it out, but it didn't go anywhere. So that's just for the winching part.
Sorry, maybe just talking about
Yeah.
on the safety. I wanted to mention what you mentioned this morning about the toe hitch.
Yeah, we'll get there as well. Obviously a pair of good gloves if you're going to winch. This is just 12,000. Okay, this is 5,000, 10 meters, 5,000 tuck rope or tuck strap. So this you're going to use for towing or snatching. You want to pull someone out of the sand where you can use a bit of force. So this you get different braking forces, and length 10 meters is fine because we can use a double and 5 meters. Of the mud, I will do this. And the same on that side, and attach it there, and then put my next shackle here and use it, and then winch on both ends instead of just one end. So use it as a griddle, but it's also with all these, if it doesn't have a tag on, I don't trust it anymore. I start using it for other things. But as long as we know this hasn't been used, this is new, also get further away than the length of the rope. Unfortunately, the person operating the winch, if it's plugged by fly lead, like you get with it a little 2 meter lead, go behind the door or get inside the vehicle where you protect it. The tungsten winch I've got, the made is tungsten on there, it's got a remote control, so you can be 200 meters away now. So if you're doing a recovery, you can stand further away from the vehicle. The only thing is now there's other safeties. There's a battery key that you must operate now, and there's another. So there's plus the remote must be on, the winch must be on, and the battery key must be in. So there's 3 options that you not accidentally operate the winch while driving, and you pull yourself towards yourself with the winch. So you throw your radiator underneath your car or something like that, because that is dangerous.
Ja, dis net is bietjie kort. Ja, ek het die winch aan vergeet.
Don't break, but if it ain't break, don't fix it.
Ja, so.
Guys, remember with
He's Jan's car.
manual cars, no brake, no clutch.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's going to run away with you.
No way.
Yo, daai's lekker af. That's how the experts do it.
From here we can go wrong way around, embankment, sand, cross axles, rocks, in the mud and back there.
Okay,
I'm
awesome.
going to show you something. I want to demonstrate something.
Die loudeur is nog maar vir iets.
Oh, maar dis ja. Nou is die staf vandag.
Sy verkeer om buite te wees.
Don't try this around.
These are my favorite parts of the day.
En my skaper het lank gedraai.
Ja, ja. Ek klop die koning oor die huislik vas.
Okay.
Reverse flow. Let's stand closer, guys.
Miskien ek is daar nie met plek daai kar om stil te staan.
All the things you must not do.
Yes, I want to go to up to high. With this vehicle, we can still do it. If we stall going uphill, we make sure the car's stalled, we make sure it's safe, we put the foot brake on. That's why people are creeping up on me. And in the auto, you're going to select reverse gear, you're going to restart the vehicle, let go of the foot brake and back off slowly until you're out of the obstacle. Now, with the other 2 white vehicles, exactly the same. We're going to stop, make sure it's safe, put it in reverse gear. With this vehicle and the older 4x4s, I'm going to actually start the car in reverse gear, because I will immediately have control and engine compression. But the moment we start, I'm not going to attempt, I will attempt it quickly to see what happens, but I won't attempt to keep on driving from here. Unless I'm in a Land Rover Discovery with a cockpit. Okay, but then I didn't do that training, so I must still go via NASA. I'm gonna attempt it quickly to see if I can go away from you in first year. I shouldn't be able to.
But this is a Mahindra, so
Yeah. My difference is the driver.
Otherwise, you store it in reverse. Right. Let it run back on its own compression. So don't touch it.
Sal die dadelik weer beheer. Jy
Own compression. So you store it in reverse gear and let it run back. And then once you are out there, you can approach again.
Houston, we have a problem.
Started in reverse, engine compression immediate. I can back out safely because remember we said when the wheels are turning, while they're rolling, I've got control. Just like on a wet road, where's the speedsters? Driving fast, roads start turning, and the moment you feel uncomfortable, you just touch the brake to slow and bye. You're going where momentum is taking you. You pass that bus on the corner.
Heel bordjie op die hoek, ja. Gewoonlik daai bordjie daar.
You tell your insurance now, the bus stopped in front of you and you show them the pictures and you realize, hey, it wasn't a bus. It was a 90-degree corner. Okay, so that's the safe way. If we do rollover, we never got to the embankment. If we're driving rollover type obstacles and you experience that feeling this car wants to fall over, what do? Turn with the roll. So get your nose in front. You all seen that video of that Bursian that put his hand out and he's back again? That was just camera niftiness because he wasn't going to fall over there. But I will not do that though. And that's why we also have the window 3/4 up to prevent you from putting your hands outside and people. Trust me, I've spoken to some of the guys, it's uncomfortable if the Hilux was on your arm. It's apparently not a good feeling.
The same
Okay.
as Jack Russell.
Is maar. En dit is een beetje anders dan.
Ja.
Net klim soos 'n droom. Wat? Oh, dit is saai.
Dude, dit is crazy.
Say forward, ja.
Dusk, soos 'n baas. Okay, so is net van die ander kant.
Lyk my so.
En die, ag, bro,
Dit is so 3 keer gedoen.
ek hoop, dude. Yes, ek het gesit daar so. Die eerste keer toe gaan ek soos klein bietjie terug. Ek sê, okay, ag nee, fop, ek nou maar, my fop. Wat gaan nou hier aan?
Ja,
Nou net soos,
wat laat ek
fuck
nie.
was dit?
Let's go for a trip, man.
Lekker.
Hoe gaan het? Is jy die by vir adventure?
Dis altyd nie by.
Let's go on an adventure, man. Ons backup voertuig, daar's hy, S11 Bounce, backup vehicle, good. Ons het ons ser daar in sy auto, as hy. Right boys, laat ons gaan. Laat ons rol. Net nie die kar krap nie. Sê aan boy.
Lekker in jou man.
Ag, lekker by die see.
Ek het nou regtig lekker gery met ou
Ja,
ding man.
jy moet weer gryp, ons het nog baie tyd hier.
Hey, dude. Nee, ek wil hulle
Nog 'n paar roetes en onthou na braai kan ons dan ons eie shoots bietjie doen. Dan dink ek ons 'n bietjie 'n lekker tripie vat.
Ja, nee, ons doen.
Maar vir nou, let's do a nice POV inside perspective. Daar's Carmen
Hierdie
saam met die ander.
hierdie is wat? Dis die Mahindra.
Hierdie is die Stag. Ag, die Tare, die Mahindra Tare. Hierdie is die Willis Jeep 1948 model.
Ja, ja.
Die patent is oorgekoop en oorgebou. Dis om alles soos jy kan sien basic. Die ry kan op oop flit. Everything is made to be a real basic Jeep. En hierdie ding is, ons gaan nou hierdie ding, hy's manual, soos jy kan sien. Hy's 'n 2 high, 4 high, neutral en follow. Nou ons gaan met follow sit eerste. We're gonna see if this little Tare can make this happen. Sonder enige moeite. Ek is nie 'n gesoute volwyfveldrywer nie. Ek is een van daai mense wat sal vassit in 'n modderplas, né? So kom ons begin by die modderplas.
Wat?
Nou eens skip die
Goed,
vuur
man.
toe. Momentum, got it! Woohoo! Gat ons toe.
Bro,
Lekker by die see.
lekker wees.
Gaan we deurstoot.
Ja, hoor.
Ons Ons gaan 'n advanced maneuver try. Ons gaan gears verander binne in die water.
Okay.
Eerste, tweede. Ja.
Ja, boy.
Ja, boy. Oh, ja. Oké, ons gaan links gaan. Daai oom is 'n pro. Hy gaan op sy eie trip. Ons gaan op die aangewyste trip.
Nee, maar dan
Hy van die dames vir 'n toer.
Oh.
Ja, ons is nie.
Ja.
Ons is nie gesout af by voor drivers nie. Ons ry nog hier op die practice rookie round.
Ja.
So op die klip. Wow! Ons gaan nou daar bo ry. Ons kan as jy hom skep vat kan jy rol, dis wat ek sê, nee.
Ja, maar kom ons rol nou nie.
Kom ons rol nou nie. Kom ons maak die ry 'n bietjie toe daar, 3/4.
Dit was
Jy weet dit is nie net vir die takke nie, nê? Hulle het nie vir almal vertel nie, maar dis eintlik vir as jy rol.
Ja.
Ja. So, ons gaan nou nie rol nie.
Ja.
Ons gaan net die mooi eerste doen.
Bro, hierdie ou kom van die ander kant af.
Ja, ons het 'n probleem hierso. Ons kort 'n spotter daar bo op die heuwel. Kan ons oorgaan? Can we go over? Hy sê ja, hy het nog nie daai kant gekyk nie.
Ja, wag check it out.
Check net daar.
Bro, ons is helemaal off course.
Is die man, almal gaan daar waar ons was. Alright, eerste rad, low gear. We're gonna trust in compression.
Ons doen dit.
Moenie nou vrakkie Mahindra. Wie gaan ons boys? O, jy kan nie nou vir my wys wou nie. Bro.
Ja.
Nee, bro.
Okay, nou moet jy wat reverse en dan los jy, né?
Ja.
Dat jy helemaal kan afwek.
Wat sê? Jy moet nie my wys stop op bo nie, dude.
Ja.
Dit was nou nie slim nie.
Well handled.
Okay. As jy nou seker, bro? Ons kan nou op. You sure? Okay. Low gear. Voor. So zijn. Gaat ons dood. Nou clutch nou brake van ons oorgaan, hè?
Ja, nee.
Trust in it. That's the whole thing.
Trust in it, ja.
Rechts zo hem! Trusting in decompression hier!
Ja, bro, dis
scary, dude.
Bro, soos nice.
En jy moet hom maar net hou. Jy moet vertrou in die systeem. As hy? Stop uncle. As hy, well done man, well done. Well done little Tare. Die ding is cool, nee?
Dit soos in daai grootte voel dit nie so hektiek nie, maar nou as 'n mens in hierdie kleiner
bietjie. You shot your best. Oh, hey, hier gaat ons nou. Lekker hier hoor. Hierdie bank is nogal lekker, nee?
Bro, dis crazy man.
23 degrees. Imagine 45. En die mense sê meeste van hierdie voertuie kan 25 gemaklik doen. Check hoe lekker angle nie.
Bro.
Hier kom my cross axles. Hierdie cross axle ding.
Hierdie kant toe is nie so erg nie, hè, want
Van daai kant af is dit moeiliker. Ek dink is die langwerpige gate wat jou vang. Want hy trek die ding so. Kom ons ry maar express moeilik. Hierdie is mos 'n Tare, hierdie is die mother of all mother Mahindra 4x4 vehicles. Fliek weer, so ons gaan nie in die gat in ry.
Ons ry in die gat in.
Want ek stop, sit die kar in eerste. Ons prepare mentally, kyk vir die gate. So diep. Okay, flexing time. We are here to flex. Gaat eerste. Oh, dat is lekker flex. Next flex. Nou, sy. Ons het 'n lekker gate daar. Ons gaan die regte enetjie hier in die linkerkant.
Kyk of ek die agterwiel kan kry toe.
Check omdat hy flex, ja. Ek gaan hom hier in die gat bære, hoor. I'm gonna be a bit on purpose here. Yeah, flexing baby. Oh, e-tron. Check hierdie uit, dit wat? We got a stall on the hill there. Ons het 'n ou wat gefail het. En hy hou hom aan, daar's twee.
Ja, maar daai is voor drivers nie engaged nie.
Hy's op two-wheel.
Hy's op, ja,
hy's nie op four-wheel. Ah, say, there we go. Is hierdie assist aan?
Jy los net, ou. Trap hom.
Ja, say. Ja, say.
Ja,
yeah, there we go. Hou net reg. Jy moet regs. Oh, bro, go right. Moet nie bydra voor ons rol nie. Oh shit, dude, hy's te. Ah, wait, he's fine. Is he fine?
Ek weet nie.
Dude, hy's fine.
Ja, maar soos bro, jy moet voel,
né? Ek dink die hele sisters aan nie. Dude, kyk hoe gaan hy ding met hierom.
Bro, die brake assist, né? Of die wheel assist.
Ja?
Hy engage bietjie laat.
Ja, jy val eers
en dan begin hy gaan.
Ja.
Maar goodness.
Is er een ding van die ligte enetjie? Die vliegklippe so bietjie meer as ander, ja.
Ja.
Dit is die woe! Hey, ons het company aan die kant. Hi! Aan dat het 'n lekker double cab.
Ja.
Oh, jy gaan ons nou lekker 'n bietjie moedertjies. Mooi hoor. You ready?
And
No brakes, no clutch.
Right, so net dat ek julle almal net wys.
Yep.
Daarso is net petrol.
Net petrol boys, hierdie ding doen nou meeste van die goed van self. Is nogal 'n gerieflike karretjie om te ry.
Dit is reg.
Moet ons nou weer deur die water?
Ek weet nie, maar kom ons gaan.
Alles gaan maar weer deur die water.
Oh, die ankel wys niks nie.
Niemand wys niks, so we're fine. We're going through the water again. So 'n bietjie splash die keer.
Jy moes wees toe jy ons invite het.
Bietjie splash. Woohoo! Yeah boy! En dan gaan ons weer deur gaan. En skiep hier nou die Tare. Alright ladies and gents, ons gaan nou vir Karmia volg. Volg haar hè. Ja, ons gaan nou vir Karmia volg in daai nuwe Karoo. Ons gaan nou check of 'n inexperienced 4x4 driver die ding kan pull, so.
Bro, daai gaan lekker wees.
Ja, daai gaan lekker wees. There we go.
Ek was bietjie nervous om met die manuals te ry.
Ja?
Maar die manual hy eintlik vir my lekker.
Hy's meer ek voel as jy meer beheer het met die manual.
Ja.
Die auto's. There we go. Bye bye boys. Ons gaan vir Karmia volg. Sy bestuur. Kyk hoe lag hy. You go baby girl. Oh, check it out man. Ons is behind you. Don't you worry, babe. We got you. Skippie se? Lekker?
Ja,
Mahindra, nee? Mahindra, dude.
ek aan my ground doen.
Ja, ek moet sê, ek het nie gedink hulle reeks is so
Bro, jy weet,
Daar's so baie off-road skip met hulle reeks nie, dude.
man, soos in elke keer wat nog is net beter as die goed.
Ja. My gunsteling sover is die Tare, hierdie is my favourite. Ek geniet hierdie nogal. En dan daai nuwe Karoo's, daai goed impress. Check also. So I got it, ou. Well done, baby girl. Ja, woo. Check vir haar. Nie net binne goed, nie net back nie, maar binne goed ook. Actually, best advies vir as jy deur water gaan, ry te oop seatbelts af. Vir as die kar in die water omval, yes. You know that. Vandag gaan ons nie in die water omval nie. Ons is hier in die water, ons gaan in. Onthou momentum in die water, nee. Jy wil nie gaan staan in die water. Ah, say, now we're going. Got some nice little water. Yes, baby. Yes. Op. Ja. Rechts gaan we daai kant volg hulle, ja. Volg dem. Hy vat op die advanced course, sommer stryd. Ons moet hulle vang op die cross axles, dude. Daar's hy. Nou clutch, nou brake, sien jy daar?
Goed.
En Chico, afdraande. Gaat ons er weer af en op. The car doing what it's supposed to do. Heel mooi, heel prachtig. Dude, ek moet sê. Well done. Ja nee, ek het gesê hierdie ding is soos hierdie ding ry self hierdie. Dis is jy koop net die kar en jy het klaar. Jy weet ek's 'n offroader.
Ja, maar jy kry so
What? Jy daai check sy sommer deur flex hy hom soos what? Ja, girl. So sy's deur die gate sommer one try. You go, Karmia. En hier kom ons by die stack en die follow backup vehicle. Ja! Let's do this, man. Alright, bro, daar's baie gate. We can do this. You're going to be fine. Mahindra, well done guys. Julle maak vir ons goed lyk vandag.
Ja,
Mahindra is making wow, ons is in die lug. Wow. Ons is dan groot. Daar's hy. Sharp. Effort. Kyk hierdie man, hy sweet nie eers nie. Ons ry hier groot genoeg gate wat jou polo kan opvreet. Kyk haar. Check haar gat hy. Check. Daar's hy, stryd. Waar is daai Karmia nou? Sy gaan nou daai grootte moet vat, né? This is going to be great. Daar gaan sy met die gaan sy nou regs verby. Vang die embankments as sy kan vang met daai. Ja. Sy ry die auto nog, en daai kar is nog nie gerelease aan public nie, né? Ja, ons is die eerste mense wat die Karoo's ry. Ja, die Karoo's is almal net. Mahindra doing it proper today. En hulle het 20 jaar young aspiring 4x4 driver daar in 'n Oh yes, go! Ja! Woo! Moet jy rol nie, Karmia! Ek wil kyk oom terug, hy's rarig. Wel oom.
Ek kan imagine, as jy hoe nervous is hy.
Ja, gaan bietjie nou. Dan creep, maar ja. Ons moet hulle vang hier mooi. As ek kyk, daar gaan sy moenie breek nie by. Maar hy breek van self. What? Okay, that's badass. Check it, sy gaan hierdie doen. Let op, daar gaan sy. Yes. Up the hill she goes. Dude. En sy was so bang. Daar vat die expert daar op 'n trip. What? Woo! Yeah. Nou weet jy nie stil nie, boy.
Draai soos.
Low drive, eerste rad.
Watch.
Nou breek net clutch check hierdie. Dis is Mahindra.
As ek bietjie meer flexible was net ek my hier.
Ja. Check nou, hierdie, dis is Mahindra, guys. Just pay attention. Check out, daar's die man se voet net op die petrol. sien julle nie eers nie? Wow, ons gaan nie af. Wow. Dit is what? Okay, gaan dit op. Yeah, boy! As Garmin dit kan doen. Hey, man.
Especially if you're driving a Mahindra.
Ja, Mahindra, dog. Mahindra is die geheim. Hey, what is up, bloody guys?